Hi everyone, it's Don and I hope you're having a fantastic day. Well, today I wanted to give out some tips. I haven't done some tips in a while. It's been a lot of news, but a little slow day today. So I wanted to say, hey, these are the top 3 scams that you're going to find in cruise ports right now in 2023. And this will go on for many, many years to come. So this one might surprise some people because we always like to think the best of people when they offer to help you. But there's a scam out there, not only for cruise ports, for basically a lot of places in the world, especially if you're in a place that has a lot of like seagulls or pigeons flying overhead. Any kind of birds flying overhead. What happens is you'll be standing there, or you'll be sitting in a park bench, or you'll be looking at something, and all of a sudden something lands that resembles bird droppings on your clothes or on your backpack. And suddenly there'll be this ultra friendly couple or couple of guys or just very nice seeming people. Oh, that's terrible. Here, I have a I got a wet wipe and everything. Here, let me help you wipe that off. And while you're being distracted by either them wiping your shoulders or your back, or they take your backpack and they start doing this with it, and then the other person will distract you while they're doing that, and they'll reach inside your backpack and try and grab something. Usually though, it's for pickpockets, and they're going to do it on your clothes if they can, and they're going to do this, and while something's touching you up here, you don't feel it other places for somebody who's really good at it. So that is like we call it the bird poop scam, and it's an actual thing that goes on all over the place. Like I said, in any location that especially has birds overhead. Anything like statues and parks and places like that, beaches, you're gonna get this scam, and you gotta be careful of those ultra friendly people who are just so helpful that they just wanna help you clean up after something fell on you. Well, it's not actually, it's something in a squirt bottle, like a ketchup squirt bottle, and they walk around and they shoot it on you while you're not looking. And so, yeah, beware of that one. The next one is one when you're shopping. There's 2 things to keep an eye out for. Number 1 is when you're entering into a transaction where you're using your credit card and you got to enter your PIN in and put things through. Somebody will put the money through and it'll say, oh, this is $765. And you go, hey, wait a minute. Should be $20 or something like that. What do you mean it's 700? And they'll go, no, that's in our currency, whatever the currency changes. So if you're in a place like Japan, Taiwan, Mexico, where the dollar is much, much less than where it is in the United States, Canada, Britain, well then if you don't know the exchange rate off the top of your head, you may go and say, oh, okay, and so you're figuring you're going to pay a new credit card, they have to put it through in their own currency, enter it in, and the next thing you know, they've set it up that receipt comes out, and it says that, but there's no little dollar sign there, there's no nothing, just the numbers. And those numbers are in US dollars. So that $15 thing you thought you were buying just cost you $700. Always get receipts, and always try and make sure that it's in US dollars. And hey, if you're buying something for $15, don't use a credit card. Do not use a credit card. Another good way to keep that from happening is to have a credit card like a Visa or a MasterCard that's prepaid, that you only loaded $100 on, for little incidentals like that. And then if somebody tries to overcharge you, it only has a $100 limit. Worst case scenario, you're out $100 instead of $700. And I've seen in some cases like $7,000 because the price in differences in some countries. Have you ever priced out $1 in China and Japan. It's millions sometimes. So just as an idea, always first of all get a receipt, try and get the transaction to make sure it's in US dollars. If that receipt has no dollar signs on it or even a figure of their own currency, like euros or something, yeah, question them and immediately contact your credit card company when you get back to the ship, because you want to make sure that transaction was not trying to scam you and you want to stop it as soon as possible. All right, now I have the #1 current scam going on in cruise ports today. But before I get there, let me just invite you to hit that subscribe button if you haven't done so already. If you want to keep up to date with everything going on in cruising, from some things like tips and tricks that just might save you some money in some cruise ports and help you not get scammed, and something to be aware of. Did you realize that dropping on your shoulder might not actually be a dropping and that somebody's sending it on you so they can try and rob you? A lot of people would not know that, but we'll try and cover things like that on the cruise and keep you so you can have the best, funnest, cheapest, and safest cruise possible. I hope you'll join us. It doesn't cost anything to hit that subscribe button, and it really does help the channel out, and I really do appreciate it. All right, the number one cruise scams going on right now is taxis. Taxis, taxis, taxis. And there are many different types of scams that taxis use. Now, some people will look online and they will see good reviews, all these good reviews for this one taxi company or tour company. And they'll say, oh, driver Sam was excellent, and driver Jose was amazing and everything. He took us, blah, blah. And then oh, well, I'm going to book that. Well, you might not get Jose, or Sam. You might get Peter. Now, Peter is not like Jose. Peter's trying to rip you off if he can. And some of the ways they do that is pretty threatening sometimes. For instance, if you go with some other people, so say you decide to share the cost in the taxi, and you say, okay, we're all going to go around, we're going to rent it for a few hours together, they'll drive us around, and we'll pay it all together. Great. You get out there, now the other couple decides, you know what, we're gonna have dinner here, we're not gonna go back to the cruise ship right away, and they pay the people at, the taxi driver at that end and everything, and everything's good, okay. And then you get driven back to the cruise port, and the guy says, okay, you owe us the other couple's money. And they said, no, the other couple paid you. And the guy said, no, you didn't. They didn't pay me. Well, unless you were standing outside with the taxi driver and you saw them pay you, you don't know whether or not the couple actually did pay or not. Second of all, now you're in a foreign country with a taxi driver claiming that you didn't pay them, and you don't have a receipt. Did you ask for a receipt? Did your couple ask for a receipt? Do they have the receipt? And so what happens now if that guy calls the police on you at the cruise port? Hey, come on over here. This person didn't pay me. Is the police gonna trust you? Is the police not on the take as well and part of this scam? Are you gonna argue for the sake of $60 with police and taxi accusing you of not paying? Probably not. You're probably just going to pay. Another way they do it is, instead of you dropping you off in a busy, crowded location, they bring you to a more secluded area when they're trying to do this. And as you're arguing with them, the next thing you know, there's a couple rather big, large, burly gentlemen standing beside the taxi, looking in and looking at you and intimidating you as well. Not great if you're like a 65-year-old couple, 75-year-old couple out on a town by yourselves. Chances are you're just going to pay it. You might report it, but by then the taxi's long gone, the guys are gone, everybody's gone. And then remember what happened to one of our friends of the channel who took a taxi to one of the resort areas to hang out by the pool and everything, and on the way back, the person said that they had to wouldn't take cash, can't pay cash. You can only pay by debit card or credit card. No, you can't. There's no taxi out there in the world that doesn't take cash. First of all, there's a big red flag. Second of all, she's a single woman by herself, and now this taxi was driving around in its roundabout, nowhere near anybody, down side road, nobody else around. What is she gonna do? Is she, even if she yelled and screamed that, this guy's trying to rip me off, there was nobody there to help. So, of course, she put the debit through, and of course, they tried to scam her by putting in way too much money through the machine. And they will do those things to, especially to solo travelers and things like that. Now, here's the thing. First off, every taxi takes cash. And if they won't take cash, never step foot in that vehicle, because they're looking to rip you off. And again, receipts, receipts, receipts. Because if you get a receipt and then you can at least go to your credit card company or your bank afterwards and say, look, I even have this receipt. You can snap a photo of it, send it to them, you can fax it to them, and it's more proof on your side that you will be able to dispute that claim. Because a lot of times, the company calls the person up and said, hey, no, look, there were 16 of them, they're paying for everybody, it's a legitimate charge. Now, what is the company supposed to do as far as the credit line is concerned? And that's even if they can reach the people. So again, things to watch out for taxis, receipts. Try and get one that's an official taxi from the destination and not just, somebody yelling taxi. A lot of places, you'll see guys out front, taxi, 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 and then when you get over to them, it's just a regular car. Well, those aren't necessarily taxis. You want to see taxi with something on their car to show it's a taxi, and you want to talk to representative. If you're unsure, talk to the people when you're getting off the cruise. The cruise lines always have crew out front, and they will direct you to where you're supposed to go, because it can be a very scary proposition if somebody's threatening you when you're in a foreign port. There you go. Those are the 3 top for 2023 right now, as reported by the police and the governments for all these destinations. Those are the top 3 that are still being used to this day. Well, I hope you appreciate this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Want to see more tips, more tricks, more travel vlogs from around the world? Hit that subscribe button. Until next time, have yourself a safe and a great vacation.